Greetings, welcome to Facts About Everything. I'm your host, James Egan. I will be doing 10 misconceptions. One of them is not true. Whoever guesses it right gets a free book of mine. I've already talked about this in this other video. Go to this link if you haven't already checked it out. Go on Amazon under my name, James Egan, and you can pick any of the 58 books I have written and I will send it to you. Let's have a look at these misconceptions. You can make thousands of combinations with a deck of cards. Every time you shuffle a deck of cards, you've basically done something nobody has ever done in history. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's impossible, because how many combinations could there be in 52 cards? Like, thousands? Millions? Billions? No, not even close. There's this many. The actual word for this number is 80 vignatillion. If you're wondering how that's possible, there's a simple way to understand it. There's 52 cards in a deck. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. How many different stories can be created from those 26 letters? What are the chances of two people writing exactly the same story, letter by letter, by just randomly putting letters together? Look at it this way. If every star in our galaxy had 1 trillion planets, each with 1 trillion people, each with 1 trillion pack of cards, and they were each able to shuffle 1,000 times a second, and they've been doing this since the beginning of the universe, they'd only just be now repeating the shuffles. But that's just one galaxy, and there's hundreds of thousands. So if you ever feel insignificant, just remember, if you shuffle a deck of cards, you are literally doing something nobody has ever done in the history of the universe. But that's only if you can shuffle a deck of cards. Which I can't. The most dangerous sport is American football. Nope, and it's not rugby, ice hockey, or wrestling. It's kite flying. By far. Kite flying is a big deal in Pakistan and India. In these countries, kites are basically weapons, since they are coated with steel and glass. In the last 10 years, kites have injured thousands of people, and approximately 500 people have died when players had their throats cut open by kite strings or they were impaled by the metal. When you listen to a seashell, you can hear the ocean. No, that sound is just air resonating in a hollowed object. You'll get exactly the same effect if you do it with a cup. Financial bank collapses have only happened in the past century. We have suffered 3 huge collapses in the past century. The Great Depression at the beginning of the 20th century, the Wall Street crash in the 1980s, and the financial crisis of 2008. Now, obviously there has been lots of financial crisis because of war and famine, but obviously banks didn't cause it in the last couple of centuries. Oh wait, they did. The Florentine banking collapse of 1345 was the earliest mass financial crisis on record, and it was catalyzed not by war or flooding, but from something as mundane as bad loans and under-regulation, exactly like the modern financial crises. This bankrupted most farmers in Europe, leading to a continental famine which killed millions of people. And that was over 600 years ago. Millions died from bad banking. Wrapping your head in tinfoil does not interfere with satellites. This idea has become popular again recently thanks to Better Call Saul. This original concept comes from a 1927 short story by Julian Huxley called The Tissue Culture King. In this story, the caps of metal foil prevent the main character from being mind controlled. Now that you see this from a little short story from nearly 100 years ago, obviously it's nonsense, but it isn't. MIT studies confirm that tinfoil hats genuinely reduce the intensity of radio frequency radiation, therefore creating an electromagnetic shield, making the person almost invisible to satellite technology. Now who looks like an idiot? Although they are very effective, the most effective thing to use is a wire mesh, like the one in your tea strainer in the kitchen. But obviously if you wear one of these, you look really stupid. Not with a tinfoil hat though. That looks fine. There was uproar when Charles Darwin revealed his survival of the fittest theory. Okay, first off, Charles Darwin did not come up with this idea from scratch. He was working from the idea of his competitor, Robert Chambers, as well as from the transmutation theory. He combined these theories with his grandfather Erasmus' idea of a common ancestor. He didn't even coin the phrase survival of the fittest. Political theorist Herbert Spencer came up with this idea. He was referencing himself as he was the only one of 8 siblings to live to adulthood. The first record of an evolutionary theory comes from Anaximander from ancient Greece. So Darwin's theory didn't come out of nowhere. Everyone was quite aware of all these theories. And when Darwin put his forward, the Church of England accepted it. I mean, the theory would have received as much opposition as any theory. There's never any theory that gets universal acceptance immediately. There's always little doubt here and there, but there was certainly no uproar in society or in the church. The only thing that the Church of England was shocked by was by how cold Mother Nature is, and it has no favourites. If one species doesn't adapt, tough, you're dead, you don't survive. They were upset by that, but they didn't contradict it. Alexander the Great's empire lasted for decades. Alexander the Great conquered most of the known world when he was only 26. So how long did this empire last for? 6 years. That's it. He died so young, his empire didn't have any contingency. His generals wouldn't cooperate and declared war on each other. The empire was formed in 325 BC, and it ended in 319 BC. Dodos were stupid, fat birds. Many models and drawings of dodos depict the bird as looking quite chubby. However, this is based on dodos that were kept in cages. A complete dodo skeleton was only discovered in 2007 and reveals that it had a very thin frame. The main reason why dodos are perceived as being stupid is because it took 75 years for the bird to become extinct after settlers landed on its homeland of Mauritius in 1598. Not only did they not run away, they actually just walked up to the settlers to their death, like a pig walking to a slaughterhouse. But CT scans of their skulls reveal that they were as smart as a pigeon. Pigeons can memorize human faces and have some mathematical abilities. Dodos only went up to the humans, not because they were stupid, but because there was no predators on the entire island. Even the snakes didn't attack them. So the dodos lived here for millennia, and they evolved so they didn't see any creature as a threat. They weren't scared of anything. Also, a lot of people think humans devoured a dodo in 75 years because it tasted amazing. According to Alexander Gordon Melville, who's best known for his comparative anatomical work on the dodo, the bird didn't taste very nice at all. Settlers only ate it because it posed no challenge to catch dodos. Spinach has lots of iron. The only reason people think of this is because of Popeye.
Also, spinach will never make your arms grow like that. If your arms grow like that, then please, for the love of God, go see a doctor.
In the Christmas 1981 British Medical Journal, it explains how in 1890 a group of German scientists calculated the level of iron in a can of spinach. However, the decimal point of the iron content of a can of spinach was put in the wrong place, giving the impression that it has 10 times more iron than it actually does. Although this was corrected in the 1920s or 30s, people still believe that spinach has tons of iron. Ironically, in the original Popeye comics, it actually emphasized that spinach has tons of vitamin A, not iron. And finally, the English burned Joan of Arc at the stake for witchcraft. The French burned her for dressing like a man. Look at it this way. Al Capone. He committed burglaries, beatings, and murder, but he was jailed for tax evasion because that was just the only thing they could pin on him. Joan of Arc made herself a powerful woman by committing many successful preemptive sieges. She was clad in armor and kept her hair short to look more masculine, so she'd be taken seriously by her men and her enemies. Sadly, powerful women never go down well in Christian history. The French wanted to get her out of their way any way they could. She was accused of being a witch, and she pleaded guilty to witchcraft. If you are accused of heresy or witchcraft in a court and you admit it, you cannot, by their law, be put to death because you admitted the sin.
It's like nowadays, if you pleaded guilty to murder, you would get a life sentence, but if you pleaded not guilty and then you were found guilty, you would get the death sentence. The church naturally assumed she would deny it, as any rational person would, but Joan of Arc knew they were manipulating the system, so she pleaded guilty. She admitted to being a witch, knowing they could not put her to death.
So to get around this, the court had to scramble to find something else to pin on her. So they accused her of wearing men's clothes in battle. A woman dressing like a man is an abomination unto the Lord, according to Deuteronomy 22:5. And there you have it. That's my 10 misconceptions. 9 of them are true, and 1 of them is a complete lie. Let me know which one you think it is. The first 10 people who give the correct answer will get one of my free books, and then I will put up a video where I will say which one is not true, and I'll explain why, and I'll give the name of the winners, and I'll send out those books to you as soon as possible. Special thanks to these fine people for all their help. Be sure to subscribe to Facts About Everything. Follow me on Twitter for updates on upcoming videos. Check out my Facebook page to let me know what subjects you want me to talk about in the future. Thanks for watching. See you again.